Good evening everybody, welcome back to another video, and tonight I'm going to do something I don't think I've done anything similar to before, a tier list. More specifically, I'm going to do a tier list of every Jurassic World Evolution DLC, both from the first and the second game. Starting off, here you can see that we have the second game first. Now, I do go into this video imagining that most of you know what a tier list is and how they work. But just in the rare instance you don't worry, they're really simple to get. The list goes top to bottom, best to worst, descending order. Normally people will use letters for the tiers you see on the side, those being S, A, B, C, D, E, sometimes F. But I just use words or sentences describing them so it's easy to get a grasp. But for future reference, top is the best, transitions down to the worst at the bottom. With that said, let's begin. Just going to start off, getting this out of the way, there isn't exactly a bad DLC for any of these games. It's just that there definitely are some that I would alter a fair bit of if I was in charge of development. Beginning, we have the Deluxe Edition bonus dinosaurs. You know what? Yeah, they're good. Bachyrhinosaurus, Megalosaurus, Geosternbergia too, I believe. In fact, my first ever JW2 video was on Geosternbergia. Obviously, for the paleontology nerds, Geosternbergia is just a species of pteranodon, not widely considered a separate genus. Atombrosaurus was a nice marine addition, not exactly a look what you're missing out on type animal, but not too lazily done anyway. However, the last animal is where I start to have a bit of problems with. I do have a little bit of distaste towards removing Hyangosaurus from the base game, which it was in the first, and then hiding it in this deluxe edition. You had to buy it, which is funny because it was one of the first animals you got in the first, which is why it's so beloved. So yeah, I can see why a couple of people were upset by that, but whether you mind that or don't, they're still decent bonuses, plus the skins and signs you get alongside them are cool enough. I think it fits pretty well and well alright. It's not too much, it's just deluxe edition dinosaurs, but it doesn't mean they're terrible. Early Cretaceous pack. Well, it's definitely a good DLC for being the first DLC and not just a bonus like the deluxe was. But I hate to say that I think it would be quite underwhelming if it was released today compared to so what we have now. Still, it's a start, and a pretty alright start of that. Songaripterus, a small goofy looking pterosaur anyone who stumbles across it loves. A Chronosaurus, I mean, look at him. Werosaurus, one of the last remaining species of stegosaur, which is interesting. And Minmi, the tiny little Ankylosaurus, looking herbivore. What I think's cool is that the two pairs of animal in the DLC actually coexist with each other. Chronosaurus and Minmi live around the same time and place. Obviously Minmi wasn't underwater, but you know, area, time period. Same with Songaripterus and Werosaurus. Again, I put in well alright, but it's a step above the deluxe pack. Camp Cretaceous skin pack. Giant Kentrosaurus, Bumpy, Ouranosaurus, Monolophosaurus, Shiny Parasaurolophus, Toro, that one Rex character looks like a zebra, and the one and only E750. Or, little story time I had to tell at some point, as I once stupidly called it in front of one of my friends when the whole E750 mystery was around at the end of Season 2. I actually called it E1750. Let's all be honest, the last two seasons of Cretaceous were, well, I'll be honest, I don't think they were very good. But we did have a heck of a lot of good in those first three seasons, I'll tell you that much. And these show exactly that. I know the Rex skin is from one of the Season 4 episodes if I recall correctly, however it doesn't look too bad, even as a zebra. Bumpy is a beloved Ankylosaurus, what's to hate? Nothing. I always thought of Bumpy as like, you know, like those Disney animal sidekicks? That's what I've always seen her as. Of course we have Toro, looking as fitting to the name man-eating bull. That's the scientific name, not the scientific name translated to English of Carnotaurus as possible. I don't know if that skin's meant to be him before or after the fire explosion at the end of Season 1, but if it's meant to be based on him after, I hope the scientists aren't setting the hatchlings on fire in the lab whenever they're released. Monolophosaurus, aka the king of doing jump scares inside of a penthouse. Oh my, what an episode that was. And of course, Scorpius Rex, E750. Expect me to be able to give a deserving description to this horror movie creation? Watch the show. That's the only way you'll get a proper idea of what you're dealing with whenever you're creating one of these. Also, 3 baryonyx in the show appear in this, even if one of them died pretty early on. Also, even if there's only 2 new dinosaurs in this DLC, and just the rest of its skins and also variants which were introduced, it's still a good DLC. I think it does a pretty good job for a mainly skin pack. They sold it as a skin DLC, like the dinosaur skins and also some new species which they ought to have at some point. Of course, they did a good job as that. So, yeah, I'd put in proper good. Only problem being that the eyes are far too cartoony. Have you seen how big and round the pupils are? The Dominion Bison DLC. Oh, come on. Easily the greatest DLC ever created for any park building game. What else do you want? There is Dinosaurus. Got that. Realistic dinosaurs. Got that. Dimetrodon. Got that. New story. Got that. And it's somehow even better and longer than the Department of Fish and Wildlife campaign you get as the tutorial. Bison Valley was the best map you could ask for at the time. The fact that the alpine and tiger biomes actually started to have differences. The research compound, despite looking like a big donut with moss growing on top, looks great as an entrance / visitor centre. And we even had those big towers connected by a subway system. And if you remember my Bison Park series back when this came out, I was the most impressed at something that I've ever been when I saw those towers. Even if many people didn't really like Dominion the movie, I definitely not being one of them. I thought it was great. This DLC should make it up to you. If you get a DLC, get this. Your game will never be the same as before. This tier's obvious, best of all time. Late Cretaceous DLC. Australopithecus is mid-Cretaceous. Anyway, it does what it needs to for a species pack. You get a cool looking pterosaur, a shiny swimming reptile, and a big sauropod. Australopithecus, despite not fitting in, instead coming from the time period right between the early and late Cretaceous epochs, makes the DLC a whole lot happier for me. Proper good dinosaur, and along with proper good big dinosaur, proper good, not dinosaurs but still in it. Proper good DLC. However, I will put it in proper good rank. It's not exactly as content filled as camp. We're going on holiday, and we're taking a trip around the Mediterranean visiting Malta, Greece and France. Despite being a DLC in December, this is a very summer DLC. And funnily enough, the bios in DLC seem very winter-like. God, I love that. Not only do we get 3 new absolutely shocking maps, 2, one even having a natural bay that you can put aquatic reptiles into, but the Malta map is absolutely huge. In fact, alongside Bison Valley and the Sierra Nevada map, it was the biggest you could get until they introduced square maps nearly a year on. The decorations and the building themes, absolutely flawless, which is funny because they're supposed to look all damaged and torn apart. Also, your story. However, why is that one island map so small? Like, when I said only 2 of them actually were shocking. Actually no, that one was shocking as well. It's so small. Why? Why so small? Actually, I guess it fits with the dinosaurs, which are my biggest complaint with this DLC. Now, Atrociraptor, they're good, no issues in the slightest. I always need to have a space for them in a park. Great addition. However, everything else is about the size of a bacteria cell. They are tiny. They are somehow even smaller than the animated blades of grass used in the terrain paint. However, they are cool looking besides that. It's just, you're never going to be able to see it. We need the developers urgently to update the sizes and make them much, much larger. In fact, I don't say this very often. They're smaller than in real life in the Jurassic universe. The little feathery Rex dinosaur was the size of a human, actually. Yeah, it really doesn't seem like it is in this DLC. Next to that you also have the chicken Oviraptor. Which actually, no, I think that one's quite accurately sized. But again, we need WOW. And that is too small to be a WOW just yet, so make it bigger anyway, I say. And we also have the reptile that changed everything. Somehow survived the largest mass extinction of all of prehistory. If you watch Walking Monsters, you'll know exactly what I'm on about. I want to pat him on the head, tell him to roll over and then give him a biscuit for his hard work. I'm putting this above proper good, but best of the best is already taken. So I had to create a middle point. Feather DLC. All feather dinosaurs. Well, 3 dinosaurs, the others is a little pterosaur. Which for some reason kind of looks like one of those really small bats. Just thankfully they're actually visible this time, unlike last DLC. And you don't need a special speaker thing to notice them like a bat. This actually is the reason we have a new feeder type, the insect feeder. I think it is the only animal to use it, but that makes it more unique. The Sinosauropteryx, as you can see here, looks like a little raccoon. Someone please make us see a little cartoon about the adventures of one. Utyrannus is definitely a more popular DLC edition. The Feathered Rex. They look cool, sound cool, and act cool dinosaur. And quite popular as well. A Dinocyrus, quite popular. Many people love them. They're one of my favourite dinosaurs actually. And the mix between eating fish and plants, which is the feeder types they have in the game, is definitely not something that I would have come to expect. Also, many seem to think they're relatives of therizinosaurs. They're actually relatives of Gallimimus and Struthiomimus. Interesting animals, and realistic. I'd say very good DLC. Fun little fact, all the dinosaurs in this are Asian. You could also call this the Asian DLC pack. Although I don't know if they're going to make that in the future. Oh, now we have this one. Allow me to quickly place it down here, and then I'll elucidate this certainly very controversial opinion. The Marine Prehistoric Species DLC is a DLC in a dinosaur-based game that has no dinosaurs whatsoever. What a great decision! Sure, Dunkleosteus was cool, and so was Nothosaurus, and Archelon the turtle, and Shonisaurus, the big penguin-looking ichthyosaur guy. They're nice additions, but above water, it just adds nothing. You're spending money for some water rock platforms, a viewing area, and a fish and some reptiles. Cool fish and reptiles, I must say. And that speed build on the Dunkleosteus did quite well. But this DLC is lacking far, far too much. They may be cool species, but above water there's just nothing. Nothing at all changes. The Cretaceous Predator Pack. The millionth DLC with Cretaceous in the name, and yet not a single Jurassic has ever been mentioned in Jurassic World. Oh, poor Triassic. You know what? Easily, no competition, best species pack. The Concavinator looks both threatening, powerful, I guess. The script says colourful, and not too ugly. Chicken from before but bigger, Gigantoraptor, and the other raptor, Utahraptor. My favourite dinosaur of all time. An absolute giant of a raptor, that is. The only thing it lacks is the speed of other dromaeosaurs. But what that means is, instead you'd see it following you, actually you wouldn't even see it, it would be well sneaky, quietly watching you in the bushes, and then pounces at you, not rushing towards you to mark, oh no, help me. And despite being victim of being featured in many low quality documentaries and movies, Tarbosaurus is here, and you bet it's realistic like the others. Nah mate, this time we got Godzilla. It's almost perfect for what a species pack can offer. Easily up there with Dominion Malta. Oh yeah, that was the name by the way, I never mentioned it. Oh, I see. Just recently we had the Secret Species DLC, aka Secrets of Doctor Wu, but improved, and all the dinosaurs are shiny. And by improvement, Ankylodocus definitely saw the most of that. Still can't really fight back, which is what they should have looked at most. Everyone kept asking, why can't Ankylodocus fight back? It's a sauropod, it's got a club tail, it should be able to do that pretty well. Still, Spinoraptor is like Utahraptor, very big and cool. But it's also a Velociraptor as part of Spinosaurus. Stegoceratops is a cool hybrid, even if it doesn't really have much to it. It still looks really great, it fits anywhere really, you can place it in a herbivore habitat on its own, in a truck tour, with other animals, it fits anywhere. Also, new addition, Spinoceratops from the worst part of Cretaceous. But actually, despite only really existing to be named after a pun, wow, I wonder what two things are combined to make it. It's not too bad, and it offered a lot more than expected. The skins look good, yeah, even the ones in the show did. Again, like Dinochirus eats both plants and fish, and if it has something in common with Dinochirus, that makes it good in my opinion. I know why I mention that so much, it's just cool. However, only a quarter of it is new, and the rest, I agree with everyone, should have been handed to us from the beginning, which is where the negatives come in. Also, there wasn't a free update with it, which automatically sounds like I don't like it and it should be placed pretty low, and is, you can see, placed pretty lower than most. However, I'm putting it above the very bottom, like I normally would, because of recent events with developers. If I remember correctly, Frontier had a pretty bad layoff, so I can't really blame them for much. And I'll probably update it and add something new when they're back to normal. Now, we're finally getting to the first Evo. Out of the way first, the pre-order bonus vehicle skins. Who cares? By the way, I didn't make these tier lists, I found them myself. But, you know, who really cares about the pre-order bonus? I don't know why these were featured. But the fact that it's impossible to get them now, even though they look nice, makes me not really bother looking into them. Now, I thought the Return to Jurassic Park DLC was the greatest way to finish off the first game before moving on. And Secrets of Dr. Wu had so much new cool stuff in it, like more hybrids, new maps, and missions. Definitely, those two are the best of the DLC for Evo 1. Return to Jurassic Park added an entirely new half to the game, actually. Because before that, it was all just Jurassic World. Look, now we have the Jurassic Park variants. That DLC is the reason we have the Jurassic Park variants, the Jurassic Park buildings, the Jurassic Park era, the Jurassic Park maps. All of that is because of Frontier's final goodbye for the first evolution. I can't read, actually, what the DLCs say, but I'm going off the readable images of the DLC title, promotional, whatever images. You know, the images I put on the tier list. I can't actually read them off the tier list, so I've got the images on here to read. I believe next up on A is the Sanctuary and Deluxe species. The Claire Sanctuary DLC had a great story, some honestly really cool looking dinosaurs, and the Sanctuary map was best map in Evo actually. Some new features like the tour truck and the greenhouse. However, the major downside to the Claire's DLC was how frustrating the Sanctuary missions were. The North missions were alright and good, but Christ, that last mission, Sanctuary success. Let me tell you something if you're still playing on that. You are guaranteed to lose unless you get that optional T-Rex unlock earlier. It can't be redone once you're off the island. The Deluxe also had so much new cool species, and plus as the first game it has the added bonus of not being able to withhold base game dinosaurs from the one before. So you come up with some Jungosaurus for dinosaurs. I don't know how I was able to be without. And if they won't make your park look better, talking about all of them now here, I don't know what will. They're very, dare I say, they're probably better than the Deluxe we have in Evo 2. Simply because I think there's more of them actually. All the other DLC it's been a really long time, they've sort of just been blended into one big thing. So I simply didn't bother looking into anything else that came with them, like the updates or whatever. I don't even know why I mentioned that, I didn't do that anyway. for any of the DLC. So I rank these by the quality of the dinosaurs within. For example, Carnivore DLC you can see up here, Rarosaurus, Acrocanthosaurus, Velociraptor, pretty nice. Cretaceous DLC with the Iguanodonts and Carcharodontosaurus, also very nice. You know, looking back, we only got like 3 animals per DLC, but I can't remember anything negative being said about any of them. Any DLC nowadays is sure to have some complainers with it. And, oh, if we had 3 animals in one DLC, nowadays, people would be well angry. Weird how this stuff changes over time, huh?